Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. This week we are going to cover the architect modern application and all other topics. Most of the things we are closed, and once we complete the modern authentication, we'll be moving into migration, business continuity, and disaster recovery. By completing these two chapters, we will be completing the AZ303 certification topics. So I'm just wanted to share some of the things from the modern applications. We already covered lots of items from the Azure App Services. So this week we are starting some of the container based applications and how do we use Azure Container and deployment. So if I just take you to the Azure portal. So within the Azure services, in this particular modern authentications, we'll be talking about the web category and containers. The web we already covered in previous sessions, and AZ900 also we covered web. So web is more of like your app services, how do you develop, how do you host, which we have explored many. But in this series also we will cover some of the web topics. But today we are going to talk about the containers. So within the containers, you have various services in Azure. We'll be exploring one by one later. But for because this week we are starting the container topic, I want to take some basics this week, and then we can move on to advanced topics. So within the container, this is similar to virtual machines. In virtual machines, you have your you have the infrastructure, and then you install your operating system. On top of the operating system, if you are enabling, if it's a .NET host, then you will be enabling IaaS role. Once you enable, you can create a website and then deploy your code. And similar way in container, you don't need to worry about individually deploying the operating system and enabling the roles. Whereas here, the infrastructure will have a host. The host will have the operating system. On top of the operating system, you can start creating a container. The container will have a build, and within the build, you can deploy your code, and that becomes your container image. And that image you can spin it for multiple instance in your deployment mode. If I just to show you some sample diagram, that will help. I think that is we covered in AZ 900. I'm just going to open that. Let's see. So if you can see the screen here, you can see the virtual machines, the physical server you have. On top of that, you are installing host operating system and enabling hypervisor role. That will help you to create a multiple VM. But in a container model, you have a physical server, and then you'll have a host operating system. On top of that, you only have the container engine like a Docker. Within the container engine, you can start spinning your containers, and this container will have your application and dependencies, and this will be your image which you can deploy it in the container engine. And the same image you can spin it in multiple instances for having high availability or supporting your performance need. You can create multiple instances. So today what we are going to do, like we are going to start with the basics, like how do we create one image, container image, and then how do we deploy code into the container, and then how do we use that image to deploy it in the Azure. So to start with, we just need this Docker desktop deployment. So this Docker desktop component you can download from internet, and then you can deploy it. Once you deploy it, this will become your local container Docker, where you can see what are the images you are maintaining in local, and then this will also help you to run a Docker. To start with, because this week I'm going to talk about more of like a Windows based containers, like a .NET images. So normally for a .NET you need a .NET framework. Like if you are developing a ASP.NET website which you want to host in the IIS, you'd use the .NET framework. The similar way, we will take some of the Docker image from Docker Hub, and that image will have a default basic Windows template. So if I just take you to some of the sites, so within this site you have the sample like the Docker Hub. This is the one you can navigate, where you can find your desktop Docker desktop for Windows. So you can download this, and then once you install it, you will have a tool like this, desktop tool, where we are going to first copy some sample Windows image from Docker Hub, which is free source. So if I Docker, so this is the Docker Hub. Once you signed in, you will have your credential, and then you can capture some of the images here, like Linux or Windows images. You can find it from here. So the basic one we are going to download today, which will have a simple .NET framework. And to do that, I am going to run some command prompts here. When you type cmd, you open your command prompt. So minimize this. So here I have set of commands which I want to show you guys, which we are going to use here. So the first command we are going to run docker pull. What this will do, this will go to the Docker Hub and copy the sample ASP.NET image. This image we will be running first, and once we familiar with the basic template, then the next exercise we will deploy our code into the default template, and then once that is tested, then the third stage we will move our custom image which we customized, we'll deploy it into Azure. So to do that, if you just simply run this command, this will take the image from the Docker Hub and try to pull it to your local. Once this is downloaded, you will be able to see from this images the Docker desktop. It will take some time, and once it's downloaded, we will have the local copy, and then we can start running that. So while this is downloading, I'll just give you some walkthrough of the other commands. Like the next, once we pull this image, we will try to run a Docker command to list all the images. This will tell us what images we downloaded. Then we are going to run a command, this Docker command, to run on the enable port 80. So this will run on 8080. This will happen. This particular image we downloaded, it's a basic ASP.NET template, where you, when you run this in your local, once you are running this image, then you can use a local host 8080. This will display your default application running on the ASP.NET app. So then we are going to register this container. So this once you registered this, then you will test. Like once you tested this, this will prove that you have downloaded sample template, and then you are able to run it locally. That is the sample one. Will do it. The next step, we will take the similar template, but we will try to inject our custom code. we will download some sample ASP.NET application from Microsoft, and then that ASP.NET application we will try to deploy it into this image. By doing that, we were doing the deployment or customizing the Docker image. Let me see whether this is pulled correctly. Yeah, I think this is completed. Now, as I said, I'm going to run the Docker image list. So when I'm doing this, this will tell me what image is downloaded and what is the date created and the size of the images, all the information we are getting. Just to prove that, we'll also go here, and now you can see we have a new image loaded here. In case if you have any questions, please stop me wherever you wanted to. So then, because we have this image now, we are going to run this image on a port 8080. So this is currently running. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to call this port 80 in localhost. So now you can see this particular piece of code sitting into the default, the basic template we downloaded from Docker Hub. So this proves we downloaded a container, and we also running that container in local, and we are able to view the application as well. So this is the default basic container. Now the next stage, we are going to deploy our first. We'll either we develop or we download the free source code from internet, and then that particular .NET application we are going to deploy into the um, container image. Is there any question?
Fine.
Okay, so now I'm just going to, this is the container image which is running on this particular port 80. All the information we are able to see. Next, I'm going to stop the container. To stop the container, you have Docker container and stop, and then you have to list your name of this. So this is the name of my application. So copy. So now I stopped the container. Then I'm going to remove this container. So this particular container is removed. I'm just going to again analyze this, whether this is still running, or and then next stage we will try to list all the images. So now you can see no containers running. Then I'm going to take the image. So still we have the image in our local, which we can delete it. If you want to delete it, you just need to run this command docker image remove, and then the image name we downloaded. So this is completely deleted. Then if you want to make sure that is deleted from local, you can list. The list shows no container, and you can also verify from the browser. Now the local desktop version also showing no container here. So this covers the exercise 1, which is creating the basic container, and then basically you pull container from Docker Hub and then run it locally, which is done. So now I'm going to move into the next topic, which we are going to okay. So if I remove this, the next topic, like customizing Docker image to run your own web app. So for to do that, we need to get set of codes, which I'll show you here. So the list of commands we are going to use today. So basically, you try to get a sample code. This is like a reservation, hotel reservation code. It is available freely. We are going to download that, and then we are going to um, create a Docker file within that source code. Um, so this Docker file will help us to create. If I just show you some of the codes. So you can see here, the first step, we will be taking the source code from internet, creating clone it locally, and then we navigate to this particular source code location src, where we'll create a Docker file. So this Docker file will be a simple notepad file where you can just simply copy some of the statements, where you can see from this particular Docker hub, we are downloading this core SDK template, and then we will be copying our source code. This source code will be copied into this container image, and then we'll run it. Then you have a build command where you will build this hotel reservation project, and then once you successfully build, then you publish. Once you published, you are going to expose port 80 the way we did previously, and this will help you to navigate to the site where you can exactly see your complete project, what you deployed. Because it's a sample hotel reservation, it is just going to return a dummy data. So once we successfully run, we'll be able to see reservation details like this. Let's go into the demo. So now I'm just going to download this. Let me clear this. Are you guys able to follow the first step and the second stage? Now we are in the second exercise. Okay, so now I'm just going to run this clone. Clone. Okay, I think since I already downloaded this, it's already exists in my local. I'm just going to run a command to navigate to that folder. So within this, I think the Docker file already should be exit. Say, since I already have the file, I'm just going to say no, but I'll be opening that file and show you guys what is there in the file. So to do that, if I just type notepad docker file, it opens. So here you can see in the Docker file within that source code, whatever command I mentioned, we are going to copy this um, .NET Core SDK container image from the Docker Hub, and then within this work directory src, we'll copy our deployment source code, and then we will build it. Once we build it, we'll publish. Once we published, we are going to expose in port 80, and this will give us the application in port 80 to access. So if I just close this, so the particular application, I'm going to build it now. So now the application reservation system is built. Now I'm going to list the images available in our system. So you can see here the reservation system image is created. So now we can see reservation system available. To test the application, we just need to run it in the port 80. So similar way what we ran it last time. So now the container is running. To prove this, we are just going to access the port 8080. localhost API reservation /1. This is the application code. As I mentioned, this is a sample application. This is returning our information like reservation ID 1, which is telling us the actual value. I don't know whether sample has a value. Yeah, so 2 also has a value. So now what we did in the first step, the basic container image we downloaded from Docker Hub, pull it, and then we simply run it that. But in the second step, we downloaded similar .NET core image. Within that image, we customized and deployed our custom code. So now we are running our custom code within the container. So all these containers are currently running locally. So now this container, we are going to register with Azure for deployment, and then once we deploy it, we will also run it in Azure, how other components are also helping us. Some of the other basic commands where you can run it to see when this started, what time, all the status of the running command. So now I'm going to stop this container. Just you can command docker container stop, and then reservation is your application name. So now reservations stopped. So now I'm going to delete the reservation container from the local registry. But the original reservation system from the local registry, we are not going to remove. So that's going to remain same here. We'll be using for the next deployment test. So now we are going to deploy this Docker image into Azure Container Instance. Within the Azure, as I said, like we have multiple container supporting component, but like you have a container instance, Kubernetes version of AKS. AKS is Azure Kubernetes Services, and container registry. All these components will be exploring. Today we are going to use the container instance. This is going to help us to register our container and run it in Azure. So to do that, I'm just going to Azure portal. Okay, so now I'm in the Azure portal. So now I'm going to create a new container. So within the containers, you can select container registry. So now I'm going to create this container registration. So one control, so is my subscription. I'm going to create a new resource group name. So I'm going to give a sample name, learn deployment container registration, create new, click OK. And then you can select your registration name. So probably we can say MK Azure user group sample container. And then you can select your location. Most probably, normally we use UK South, which I'm selecting. So the name, register name also available. And so availability zones, also you guys familiar now. In case you want to make it highly available, you can enable. For now, because it's a demo, I'm going to skip it. And the SKU, I'm going to keep the same standard one. When we click review and create, okay, so the validation passed. I'm going to create it. Once we create it, we will take the keys from the container once this is created. So the access key is the one we'll be using to register in this container. Okay, we click create. Yeah, it's loading. Okay, so now we go to resource. Similar to all other exercise what we have seen, this access key will help us to register. I'm going to enable admin user where you can see your key information. Once we complete this demo, we'll be deleting this. We don't want to share this for anyone. So now we need to capture all of this information. So first I will just take so registry name, login server, and then username of the admin user, password 1. As you guys know, password 1, password 2 purpose. In case you are want to recycle, then you'll use second one. Okay, now we selected. Now we are going to upload the image for the hotel reservation system app to Azure Container Registry. So to do that, we just need to run some Docker command. Let me show you that. So Docker and tag reservation system latest. Here the registry name we need to place. In our case, registry name is this, which I'm going to place it here. So we have another 10 minutes to run this session. In case we overrun, please rejoin this call so that we can continue. Naveen, you there?
Yeah, Karthik,
Yeah, now we are using a free Zoom one. So normally it ends in 40 minutes. So if you overrun,
yeah.
we'll be rejoining the session.
Sure. No problem.
So now I'll just take this command and I'm going to run it here. Okay, so now we are going to list this image. So the image is available, the one we run it. So now we are going to log into Azure Registry Container. So to do that, we just need to run a login server names. This is the login server. So there is a command. Let me show you that. Docker login and then login server name we need to provide. In our case, login server is this, which I'm going to place it here. So you run, then you will need to provide the username, which is username here, and we are going to paste it here. Then the password, one of the password I'm going to share to log in from our local. We are logging to this. Oops. Copy clipboard. I don't know why I'm not able to copy password. Do I need to? Some reason it's not allowing me to paste. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm just getting this. Sorry guys.
Karthik, is it
Yeah.
just that the password field normally doesn't move? No, is it that? If you just type something, can you see it moving?
Yeah, password you can't copy, I think.
Yeah, password, it normally you won't see it some move, right? It might have
Yeah.
pasted, but you're just not seeing it.
Let me try again. So MK user group sample contain. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. So
Yeah, that's okay.
login succeed. Now we got the login done. So now we are going to push our Docker image from our local into this Azure container we created. So to do that, we have a command which is docker push, and then the registry name we have to change it here. So now we have the complete information. Let's copy. So now the container we created and customized in local, we are pushing to the Azure container. So once this is successfully deployed, we'll verify that. So now we are registering the container. Parallelly, we'll create the container instance for running this once this is deployed. So in the another tab, I'll just portal.azure. So what we can do now, we'll just drop and rejoin so that it will have a continuation. Are you guys okay to stop now and then rejoin?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you. And please rejoin.